probably about, let's see here, what time does it say? 6:50. So we got 40 minutes to get up there. Crispy morning, but not as cold as we've experienced.
So with the time change, we have sunlight.
Nice having some light at this time of day.
As we roll out. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We rode into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR crust pizza. We headed out on Honea Egypt Community Road. We kept things steady. We went through Great Lake Estates. All of that's on camera. Went out Keenan Cut-off, 149 to Spring Branch Road. We let the group go. We kept our pace steady. And then we caught back up with them because they waited at the end. We stopped filming once we got past Bobville. We went past Dacus, 1486 there, Johnson Road, Bailey Grove to 149, and we turned on the camera in the forest on 149. It's a pretty challenging section there. We went Forest Glen, and we stopped filming and came back on Bethel Road, 1097, back into Montgomery. At that point, it had warmed up a bit. And then we came back through Honea. And I think that you will like the clips we got for you. Ended up riding a little over 7 hours or so. But it was a very nice day. Got very pleasant later in the day. It wasn't as cold as we had expected. We are on Fish Creek Boulevard, the FM 2978 headed north. We're going to be turning on Honea Egypt Community Road, one of our favorite roads with a lot of patina. That's Dave on the right. He came down from Idaho for the winter. He has a place up there. He rides with the WCC mostly. But he said those guys don't know how to back off, so he's riding with us today. Paul's asking me about the camera. He said he didn't hear it beep, but I looked at it and the lights flashing. We had a bit of a glitch. We're doing something on Sunday, and we didn't get the clips we expected, so he's just being extra cautious. But it always helps to have another set of eyes to look at stuff, so I told him, yeah, it's on. I said sometimes, you don't hear things. What's going to happen here is during the warm-up, the guy in front of me, his name is John. He's been off the bike for a while, just, dealing with changes in life. And so he's trying to get back out riding. And it's kind of good to see people that are coming out that haven't been out in a while, so you kind of want to encourage them for a bit. We're not changing anything we're doing, but I had told him that our plan is, because he said, oh, it's good to see you. I probably won't see you very much. And I told him, no, our plan is to ride slowly. So right here, I told Paul to come off because I told him I'm going to give John my wheel. You see I slow down and I'm going to drift. These guys are going faster up the road. As soon as we turned on this road, that's Dave, and that was Mike S5. That's Darren. The guy in the red we call Champoussin. I don't really know his name. But they're going up and they're riding faster than we plan to do. So we're going to keep it steady because that's what our plan calls for. And then it encourages John. You can see John moving up to my wheel because he realizes I'm staying here on purpose. Because he and I had talked and I told him, yeah, we're just riding steadily today. So all I'm doing is keeping the effort steady in our zone 2. And it may be his zone 3 or higher. I don't know. It depends on your conditioning. But at least it gives him something to hang on to. He's not going to be riding alone, Doesn't mean we can't ride with those guys, but that's not what our plan calls for today on this ride. So you have to stay disciplined because that's important. If you have a particular goal that you're planning for, you don't want to be burned out by going too hard all the time. After a while, you get sick of it, and it's just too hard on the body. You need to be able to recover, and sometimes by backing off, you can recover while you're on the bike. Teaching your body to rest while you ride is an important skill. So that's why you see If you notice, my cadence is reasonably high, but the effort is mild, meaning it's going to be around 150 to 200 watts in that range. But from a heart rate standpoint, I will be in zone 2 as well as a power standpoint. But that's just for me. John may be working harder, but at least he's got a steady pace to work with instead of that jackrabbiting stuff, which is harder on the body. And the same thing in your car. If you race from red light to red light, you burn more gas than if you're cruising. Same thing, different kind of effort. So if you go to a ride and the faster riders happen to intentionally keep the ride steady, don't get excited thinking, oh, I'm really fit because I kept up. It's a different kind of effort. You have to appreciate, and experienced riders do, you have to appreciate what is different about each ride instead of patting yourself on the back thinking that you're the big dog because now you're keeping up with this guy who was killing you last summer because he's intentionally keeping it steady to keep the group together. Don't get a big head about that. I don't know who's back there, but there's a rider back there by themselves. But that's Randy and Scott behind Paul. But what I was trying to point out is every ride is different, as I've said before many times on this channel. Just because a rider who can go faster chooses to go slow, don't get excited and start getting frisky and changing the pace. Because if he or she decides to lift the pace, you might have bitten off more than you could chew. So you need to appreciate what's going on each time you go out on a ride. If you want to go faster, that's fine. Those guys are up the road, probably 15 seconds or so up the road. We're keeping it steady here on purpose. They end up waiting at the gate. I really did not know they were going to wait. It didn't matter to me because my plan was to just ride steadily. I don't like to stop. And I've said that many times. I don't believe in riding away from people, then stopping periodically so they can catch back up, and then you ride away from them again because they don't change their pace. So when they wait in this group, they go just as hard after people catch up, and the same people end up getting dropped. So I'm like, what's the point? If you're going to wait for people, that doesn't make sense to ride away from them. I think it's more effective to just back off on the pace, stay and take longer pulls so you get a workout and these people get something they can work with until they get to the point where they can handle drastic changes in pace. That's really important. So you notice that Paul is able to take shots from the back, he's taking shots from the front or whatever. We get a lot of riders, we've gotten a lot of riders on the channel, cyclists that come and they want to give suggestions on how we should film. Yeah, it's a nice gesture, but we know what we're doing. This is not an accident. You know, I spent 6 weeks educating myself about filming. So besides just carrying the camera, there's a lot that goes into making these films. So we know what we're doing. We don't want to put it on a mount. Been there, done that. Chest mount, handlebar mount, all that. What we're doing is we carry the camera freeform. We're able to access our brakes and shifters even with the camera in our hands. You need a good bike fit. You need experience on the bicycle for your bike handling to be able to do what we're doing. So we don't recommend it for everybody. If you're having trouble just keeping your bike in a straight line, we don't recommend that you carry a camera at the same time. Feel free to strap it on something and stay within your limitations. The rider I'm talking about posted this week on the channel that I don't know if it's been asked, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if it's been said before, but wouldn't it be safer for you to carry a chest mount? The assumption is what we're doing is unsafe, and you see that's what assumptions do. in the movie Dark Territory, Steven Seagal, the guy said the bad guy who I really like the character. He said an assumption makes an ass out of you and me. Do not assume. You want to know something? Ask. You're better off. You end up looking like you got egg on your face. So I just diplomatically replied, letting him know that in a roundabout way, we kind of know what we're doing. We have the skills, the requisite skills for our preferred mode of filming. So, I just told him, enjoy the film. There is nothing unsafe about what we're doing. If you can't hold a banana in your hand and cycle, then yeah, you're not at that level to where you can carry a camera or anything, you know, in your hand while you ride. That's the essence of what we're dealing with. It's nothing significant. It does not interfere in our handling. If it were unsafe, we would not be doing it. So anyway, back to what we're doing here. I keep my cadence high because this road is undulating. I really like this road because every time you get on it, there's something about this road. You probably have roads in your area that just says, get to work. That's what this road says to me. In other words, this road does not say, let's talk. This road says, put your nose down, get in the drops, and start working. That's what this road says. I really like this road in both directions. So whenever I get on this road, it's to do some work. I like this road. A lot of times I'll come solo and go in this direction, which is north. There's usually nothing in the mornings going that way. There's no industry. Everybody that's here going south in the morning. So you really can ride for a long time before you even get cars coming by. And even when they do, they use the other lane mostly. And I pretty much ride where you see me or where you see John right now. The road is challenging. It goes up and down. It has a lot of character, a lot of patina. So whenever I ride this road, I keep my cadence at least around 85 and up. This lets me regulate the effort so I'm not shifting too much all the time. So right now what I'm doing is I'm at the front, and right now my effort level is getting near sweet spot. So I know it's a little hard for John. I'm keeping it there because the road went up. That's Mark. He fell off the front group. He was waiting. I put my arm out. You didn't see it. The camera didn't pick it up to let him know, keep moving, as he was on the right in that driveway. I wanted him to know we're not stopping for you. You got to keep moving and get in the line. We're planning on going through the Grand Lake Estates. And so at this point, I'm doing my best to keep this group together. You can hear people conversating. So for some people, because the pace is constant, you can find a rhythm and you're able to chat a little bit. I think I hear Scott and Randy talking back there, maybe with Mark. But this is an effort I can do all day. That should be a long, steady distance effort. You've got to find that. And that's our plan. You know, we can go faster, we can do whatever. That was not the plan for the day. And you will see us again in maybe 20 kilometers when we get to Spring Branch Road. We ride it at a slower pace than the group, but we keep them in sight for most of it where you can see them without the undulations and the curves. They don't gain that much time. So my thing is like, we're just gonna do what we plan to do and just keep the day kind of steady. You know, there are days when you get up and you just don't want to go very fast. If you have those days, back off. Go ahead and just enjoy your bike. When you go fast, it should be fun. You shouldn't feel like it's a chore. You don't have to ride your bike in anger all the time. Yeah, I'm not sure why he told me car back, Eldred. Look at where I am. You know, there's nothing I can do. I guess he was letting me know cars were behind because we're approaching the entrance of the Grand Lake Estates, and we're going to be turning left. So I guess he wanted me to know. I kind of looked in my mirror and I saw there are 2 cars back there, and Paul's also watching them in his mirror. You will hear him let us know how many cars are coming by. We're about to turn in that driveway up ahead, right on the left, and he says one more. They're actually going in there as well, so they've been sitting behind us patiently. So I look and I see this is the last car, and then we turn. You see me point. So then we found out that the guys who were ahead have waited right here. I just keep going because I don't want to stop.
No, it was demolished.
There they are. So we just keep going. And you hear Paul tell them, let's go. I don't want to stop. Let's keep going. I didn't expect them to wait. I expected them to just keep going, but That's fine. So I just continue the same thing I was doing on Honea, Egypt. I want to keep my effort and keep my body in zone 2. I don't want it coming down. That's why you see me, I'm at the front. I don't play those games of sliding back and sitting behind. This is not a road race. I'm not competing for anything to where I need to make sure everybody comes through and take their cuts. There are no winners in a group ride. There's nothing to win. I'm here to get a workout. So I'm in front of Darren. Darren's behind me now. John has slipped behind Darren. I think in a little while, John's gonna wave Mark up. I didn't recognize John in the parking lot. John has grown like a full beard, kind of like Paul Bunyan. This is why John waves Mark up. And all the time John used to come, this is John on the left, he didn't have a full beard. I think he had at most a mustache. And I was like, I had to ask somebody, this is John, right? And so he's like, wow, do I look like I've gained weight? I mean, he's a little bigger than he usually is, but not that much, you know. But it was his face that threw me off. He's got a full beard, which is like a disguise. You can see my effort, 141 beats per minute. That's the bottom of zone 2 for me. Just entering zone 2. And in this direction at this point, you know, with the conditions, we're doing about 18 miles an hour.
Well, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
All right.
Hanging in there. Ready for the week of vacation.
I see. Enjoy. Vacation is always good.
Yeah. Always good to take a break every once in a while.
Yeah, Paul doesn't like to talk shop on the rides. Paul doesn't want to talk about work or anything. In a little bit, you hear somebody ask him about work or something. And I think it's Dan that asked, and he said, I'm on vacation, I don't want to talk about those people. Something like that, you know. And they both laugh about it. Paul doesn't like to talk about work. We get on the bike, it's a whole different world. Forget all that stuff and just go out and have fun. It's fun time. So I just sit there, I'm doing the same effort we were doing on Honea Egypt Road. And, you know, for me, I will just stay there and do that forever. I don't care, you know. In a few kilometers, guys will come around me and I will still keep my effort the same. You have to be disciplined. That's John on the right there next to Randy. So you have to encourage people in your group that have not been coming out regularly to get out there, because it helps for people to know that you're not just going to ride off and leave them. Otherwise, why should they bother coming to the ride? They can just ride by themselves. So if anybody is taking it easier that day, have somebody stay back with them like we did. And even if these guys had not stopped, we weren't that far behind them. We might have been at most 15 to 20 seconds behind. And it wouldn't be more than a few minutes over 50 kilometers if we were to ride to Taco Corner. That's where they're headed on this ride. Mark had put out the route, just the general plan of the route. And sometimes they change them. But so our plan was, well, we'll ride with them and get out into the Tri-Lakes area and then decide what we're going to do, because we're not going to Taco Corner. We plan on doing more, so we're going to go wider. And on this ride, you get to see where we part from the group. And I thought that was a neat thing to film, because we have not filmed that in the past. Yeah, this guy didn't stop. There's a stop sign there. I was slowing the group down. He just runs it. I guess he just wanted to go through. And so I had tried to slow the group down thinking he was going to stop. But that's not a place you pass. As a driver, a serious car driver, I would never make that move. You don't pass at intersections. That's the first thing they teach you in driver's ed. You don't pass at intersections. So he should have just waited till we got through that intersection, because that's when you can have challenges if some other road user is on the other side. Then you look like you got egg on your face. A lot of these guys don't take things seriously when they're out on the road. That's why we have problems. So Scott is another one who has not been riding a lot, but he's been riding more than John. So that's Scott on the right in the red. That's John in the middle there. So we're using the whole lane. We're in this neighborhood, Grand Lake Estates. I like the neighborhood because it's up and down, up and down. They put those speed humps there to slow people down in this neighborhood. It's been there from the time they set up the neighborhood. People use it all around the world to just calm the traffic down. So because the way Paul and I ride, we don't need to stop that much because we control our effort. And so I don't feel like I need to take a break at this effort. Zone 2, that's what we do that all day long into sweet spot, bottom of zone 4, whatever. That's the way we ride. We only stop when it's necessary for health breaks in the woods. And in fact, we carry enough stuff to where we rarely have to stop at a store. We carry enough food, we carry gels, and all of that. So I let them know it's clear. I check the left. There's a dead end on that side to make sure it's clear for the group. You're not just doing it for yourself. You don't want in front. You're their eyes and ears. So if anybody wants to go faster, like in a group like this, and they take off, you let them do their thing, and you continue to do what you're doing. So you keep the main core of the group, and they can become like a breakaway or something like that. You don't have to scatter your group all over the road all the time. So our sport is unique in that at a moderate effort, you can still be having a conversation. We're moving at what? 18, 20 miles an hour. Right here, these guys get impatient and lift their pace up the climb here. I keep the effort the same. The speed's gonna drop, but my effort, I'm trying to keep it in zone 2. Oh, Randy said, come on, Eldridge, you got it. And Paul just laughed. So all I do is I keep the effort the same. I'm not that concerned that they're up there because my goal is to just stay where I am. My heart rate went up a little bit because of the incline. And the road is going to continue to go up and then it's going to go to the right. I don't change anything I'm doing. If I wanted to go with them when they started, I would have been right on their wheel. But I kind of want to just keep this effort the way it is. I stay in the same ratio, just spin it a little faster as the road goes up. You can see my cadence in the 90s. Then I noticed they're really not going that much faster than we are. They just went up a little faster than we were going, which was not consistent with my plan. So we got the main group here, those few riders. In about maybe 500 meters, we'll all be together. So that's the thing I want to point out. That's Dan. So by keeping my effort where I kept it, I didn't expend any extra energy. And watch, in the turn, we're together. And so those guys that had gone up to the front, after we turned, they turned off the power. See, that's what I don't like. I like to keep things moving. That yo-yo stuff, on a training ride, I want to keep it going. We need to keep moving. Mo calls it moving time. We need a steady pace. All this pedals, then we slow down. And I'm not sure what's going on.
We're gonna take care of us big guys. Whenever we can. We can be flying around with all this 1-year-old.
David is the guy in the blue I was talking about that rides with the WCC that came down from Idaho for the winter. He's going to spend the winter here. And he had told Paul, we got to take care of us big guys. We can't be flying around with all these 29-year-olds. Jumping around. David says that the WCC guys, they don't know how to back off. They're not keeping the group together. And so he wanted to ride with this group because he was not in the mood to hammer. I don't think anybody's back there. Yeah, I see Mark up here. I don't know if Scott's up here. There's the lady with the dog over there. That's why I moved over. Giving over room. Yeah, so what Dave was saying was that he's riding with this group because he didn't feel like he wanted to hammer all year long. He's a little out of condition because he's been busy with other stuff in Idaho. So he didn't want to come and just go with the WCC guys because they don't know how to back off. They got a bunch of hotheads in their 20s and they just love to hammer. They're hammerheads. And they haven't learned how to let their body recover yet. So that's what he was sharing with us. So you have to be disciplined. You have to have a plan based on what your goals are. If you're trying to get ready for a century, don't hammer yourself to the ground because the time is going to take you to recover. You might miss some rides because you're so tired, because you push too hard. Stay within your program for whatever your goals are. If your goals are calling for you to push harder because you're getting ready for a criterium or something, then fine. Go there and find a group that's doing that and you hammer with them. But if your goals are calling for you to do long, steady distance, then do that either by yourself or with a group that is going to be holding a pace that will allow you to keep things steady. You know, your heart rate won't always stay in the zone that you wanted to be in. Like right now, I'm right at sweet spot. It's dropping down to like the top of zone 3. But the idea is that I am not really digging deep. That's what matters. You know, your heart rate is not going to be perfectly in the zone all the time, but you got to listen to what you're doing from an effort standpoint. So at no time during this ride do I dig deep. If you've been riding for a while, you know what I mean. Meaning you're really going into your reserves. You're pushing very hard. Everything I'm doing here is just kind of easy. So even if my heart rate goes outside, you can see it drop 20 beats in a few seconds here I'm talking. So it's like because of the work that we've put in, our recovery is real quick. I do not participate in what they're doing. I think there's sprint here. I don't know if they call it a sprint. It's kind of a slow effort. Look at them. They're not doing that much. And so I'm like, I told Paul, I said, that's a pretty slow sprint.
That's a real slow sprinting.
So unless I want to teach my body how to sprint slowly, there's no point to that. You might as well just ride. That's Abby wants to know where we're going. I don't know why he cares. Like we don't know where we're going. Yeah, Paul said we're going wherever the wind blows. We don't know where we're going. I just ignore them most of the time. You don't need to know what we're doing. You're not in the inner circle. We don't know what we're doing until we get out. Once we get out, then we make up our route. We have a general idea, a general direction. That's it. We don't pigeonhole ourselves. We do different things all the time on purpose. So yeah, the gate here does not have a keypad on this side. So we get here and we wait. I think Dan was going to climb the fence, but then a car showed up and I told him there's a car coming. And so the driver enters the code from the opposite side.
Oh, right.
I didn't see anybody giving us no t-shirt either. Not coming. 13,000 feet of climbing and not even fully supported.
Mark's talking about a ride that was held in Austin, an organized ride.
I'll show you mine.
Lots of climbing. They ran through a bunch of neighborhoods, Chester. You know, I'm familiar with the areas. But you end up in just a bunch of neighborhood, steep little climbs.
Concrete laying all over the road because of the angle.
That's what Mark's talking about. That's Randy, John, and that's Scott.
That was just as bad.
So the three of them were back there doing their own thing. So the driver enters the code, the gate opens. It opens on our side first because it slides from right to left on screen.
There were too many neighborhood roads which we're not familiar with. And so many turns, right on, left on, right on. Yeah,
they're talking about a ride that was held in Austin that some guys went and did. You know, they just route you through a bunch of neighborhood steep climbs, a lot of climbing, you know. But they're short, steep climbs. I got a few long ones, like Jester Mountain is one of them. I'm familiar with that. I used to live out there.
All right.
So we get going again. And this is the thing about fitness, is I was staying like in medium temperature, medium effort zone 2. So John was on my wheel. When we got into the neighborhood, he, Scott, and Randy let us go, because since he has not been riding, it's gonna take him a while to be able to sustain certain levels for a long periods of time. And so once he recognizes that he's out of his range, he just kind of backs off. That's what you have to do. You got to give yourself a chance. Personally, I never really did a lot of group rides when I would be out of shape when I competed. I would ride myself into shape, into decent form, then do the group rides to kind of test my form. So I didn't show up at group rides out of shape. I just rode by myself or with a close friend. I've removed my gloves because I just started getting warm, and so I took my gloves out and put them in my back pocket. I believe I'm wearing the Souke gloves. I'm going to do a review on gloves and the different temperature ranges that are, you know, the different gloves that you should try to look for. You know, I don't have every brand. I'm letting them know there's a car back. They're spread all over the road once again. Dan is even over the yellow line. I use one lane. So I told them to close it up. There's a car back, so they can go by easier. So I'm going to be having a video coming out that will talk about the different kinds of gloves out there for the different temperature ranges. It's not going to cover all gloves, of course, but it will give you an idea of what to look for when you're shopping for gloves. Not all gloves are created equal. They have different ranges they're made from. So you got to know what you're getting. And I'll also talk about when to use liners and the kind of liners that are out there. So that will help give you an idea of how to, you want to layer to where you don't have to always be removing everything. Just removing my gloves and tipping my hat over my ears regulated my temperature. So I didn't need to do anything else. It says 11 Celsius, but it feels warmer. It feels like 15 Celsius, which is like 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what it feels like. It's a warm morning. It was a bit hazy when we started.
Strava climbing too much, man. Huh? I saw you on the Strava. Too much climbing.
Oh, yeah. With the wrong bike. I was with this bike, which was not that wasn't the smartest move.
I'm staying close to the wheel in front of me so I can put out minimal effort. I'm not sure why they're by this yellow line. Oh, there's a runner. Okay, there was a runner coming up. I just followed the line. I don't think I even saw the runner. You want to look smooth on the bike, you want to be fit, you need to get a bike fit. Don't skimp on that. A lot of non-competitive riders wait till they got knee problems, back problems, shoulder problems, then they, oh, I need a bike fit. You need a bike fit. Even if you think you're there, if you've never had a professional bike fit, do your research, find a good bike fitter. I'm not talking about a bike shop fit, I'm talking about a fit studio. Do the research on the fitter. It's only as good as the person doing the fit. And get dialed in so that you can understand the significance of a fit and what happens when you get new shoes or whatever else. That's the kind of fit I do. I educate people so that they know. You don't just go out there and start buying stuff, changing stuff, and expect to leave everything the same. You end up paying the price. When you make changes, you need to expect that you have to accommodate those changes. So if you're going to change any equipment on your bike, change it and then go get a fit. If you find that you're happy with the saddle, don't be changing just to be changing. You couldn't pay me to ride a different saddle right now. I love the saddle I have. They're on all my bikes. I've ridden all kinds of saddles. These are the best fitting. They don't move around. They're solid. I even had one of them break on me and I didn't even know. That's how solid they are. The S&P saddle, the rails are continuous and they link in the back. They're not just parallel. It forms a circle in the back. So you have a solid rail. They don't make them lightweight. They're sturdy. They have substance. But they're really form-fitting. They suit the human anatomy, I think, best. Yeah, you see that guy shaking his leg? That's Jonathan. He did that on this ride, and he did that on Sunday. We rode with them on Sunday, the same thing. So he hadn't corrected the problem. If your feet are hurting, because the reason he's doing that is feet going to sleep, something's up with your setup. That's a fit-related problem. Could be a saddle that's too high. It could be a cleat that's in the wrong spot. So you got pressure points on your foot, and that can hurt when you lose circulation in your feet. I just sneak through here because I want to go. They stop like they want to wait. I don't want to spend too much time on the corner. So I'm looking for the cars. The people who have fallen off the pace, there's no point in staying here to wait. You know, it happens that they catch up here, but they're going to fall off the pace again because they haven't been doing the work. You know, our zone 2 is a challenge for some people because they haven't been doing the work. That's okay. So you get the groups to form different levels on the road. I'm going because I want to keep moving. I want to stand on this corner here. I'm not sure why they're standing there. Everybody's there. That's Dave behind me, who's just is down here for the winter from Idaho. He lives here. You know, he has a place here. He has a place in Idaho. I think if you're going to be anywhere in the summer, yeah, up north is good. I don't care for the summers down here. They're too muggy. It just gets too hot. That's why this time of year we want to get all the caves we can in. We still do it in the summer, but it's more fun now. That's Dave right there.
Let's keep moving.
This is where Dave is gonna. I think this is where Dave tells Paul about his cassette is wobbly. I had noticed it, but since he wasn't having shifting problems, I never thought more about it. But so when Dave mentioned it, we looked at Paul's cassette after the ride on Sunday, I believe. Or was it Saturday? I think it was Sunday. Because when we got back on Saturday, it was kind of late. It was Sunday. After Sunday's ride, we look at Paul's. Paul brought the wheel in. We talked about it after Saturday's ride. And his hub is the culprit. So we're going to get that taken care of. Yeah, I thought I don't want to stand at the corner for no reason. I want to keep rolling. So you can see, let's see, 155 beats per minute. That's like above zone 2, creeping into the bottom of zone 3. I don't look at this stuff when I'm riding. I just ride. I can tell when I'm doing 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. So I'm at 2 out of 5, and I'm just pedaling along in a gear that keeps my cadence. Right now it's in the 80s. Just keep me rolling. We're keeping our eye. We see the group coming. That's Dave. So Dave is like, okay, WCC want to hammer all year round. I'm not hammering right now. I'm going to ride with you guys. This is a good group for what I'm planning on doing. So that's why Dave is here. And I think Jerry also joins us. Jerry had chased the group, knowing the route, and he left home. He said he left home late. And he will come. You'll see us talking. So I think he caught us at that after Keenan Cut-off intersection. Since we got caught at the gate, he was hoping we'd get caught by that gate. So he was gauging that for his effort. And he was saying that if I hadn't caught you guys by that point, I wasn't going to catch you guys until maybe Taco Corner or something. But I think he's here now. I think he will come around. You'll see him come around. This road is up and down. You see it says 2%. I think it's like 2 or 3%. It's one of these where it's like ninja grade and it kicks up. You can't, it seems flat, but it's not. See, it says 3%. It's 2 to 3%. In both directions, this road you're working. I like this road. This loop is about 4 hours from where Paul and I live.
Your bike shift okay?
Yeah.
It's weird, your cassette has just a little wobble in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you might have that jack.
So what Dave just said, the cassette has a wobble. I had noticed that. It's kind of waddling like a duck walk, per se, instead of being a circular thing.
Seems like it's just got a little bit of a wow. Check it, put it on.
So Paul needed a new part that we discovered that was faulty, and so it's in progress. We get that resolved. That's Dave on the left that was saying. So now they're accelerating. The pace is changing. Now, that's Randy over there. That's Mark on my left. Both of them have not been riding as much. And this is the difference between what I'm talking about, having the discipline you need. They're really exerting themselves beyond what their fitness allows. And I'm just watching the two of them because I know that, you know, Mark has been traveling. I haven't seen Randy here. And then from watching them ride, even on this ride, I know that what those guys are doing is too fast for them. So I'm sitting behind Mark and I'm watching it. There is a gap. The camera will show it in a bit. I can see the gap. This is where they really should have just let those guys go and hold their pace. So when they got in front of me, I did not want to exert too much energy to get on the wheel of that fast group because I wasn't going to ride with them. But since they got in there, I thought they were going to close the gap. Well, it didn't. And right now, the gap is growing. Randy is sitting there. He's not making progress. So Abby is riding up. You see the group up there? Abby's riding up to the group. Now, Mark tries to close. That's Jerry. He's finally caught up to us. He's chasing Abby down. Mark, I'm thinking, okay, Mark's going to close the group. In his mind, he's trying to, but his body says, no, you haven't done the work. So you see him looking around? That's the sign of a cyclist that's having a problem when they start looking around at all levels, even the pros. You start looking around when you're in a breakaway, that means you're not firing unless you're waiting on a teammate or something. Because when you're firing, you don't look behind. You keep going. I look behind, it's clear. I let Paul know. And I just go ahead and put the watts down. I'm at sweet spot. It's like a 5 or 10 second effort. I went very hard, probably at 29-30 miles an hour. I went that hard to close it quickly, and then boom, turn off the power. Paul's gonna flip the camera around. 10 seconds of effort. Look behind you and see how much of a gap opened. Because once you hit the wall, look at that. That's 10 seconds of effort. Once you hit the wall, especially on a climb or something, you really lose time. So if they had not done all those efforts, they would have probably been better off progressing at a lower pace than trying to catch this fast-moving group when you know you haven't been doing the work. Because when you haven't been doing the work, you have to dig into your reserves. When you've been doing the work, you're not tapping your reserves. Your base is already so high that you just pedal faster. You don't think about it. The reason I decided to pedal up to them, it was downhill. It wasn't a hard effort. They were right there, you know, 2 car lengths maybe. And I was like, it's not going to take much to close it. I was like, let's just get there and sit in. Abby and Jerry are chatting. I just sit in the middle of them. So I'm in like a nice little cove here where they're just blocking the wind for me. I stuck my gloves in the middle pocket because that's where I've got my essentials kit, and I leave the right pocket free for the camera when we're not filming. And then my left pocket has all my food and gels and other stuff for the day. And we carry about 1,100 milliliters of water in those bottles. They take like 550 each, and they hold. So for hours we're set, especially this time of year. Yeah, we go 3 hours before we need to stop to fill up because we drink before we leave. We're going to be turning right on 149, because after that, about maybe a kilometer, then we'll turn left on Spring Branch Road. The morning ended up just warming up because the wind is coming from the south. I think it was southwesterly. It felt warmer than we had expected. That's the reason you must have the right equipment. You must have very breathable fabrics, so you don't have to stop and shed too much. So quality counts. You know, you don't need that many. You just need to take your time and get the right stuff and get a few pieces of the correct stuff, and you know, you're better off. You don't want to take summer jerseys and put them on top of each other. They're not as effective as getting a jersey built for the correct temperature range. Putting on 2 summer jerseys is not going to work very well versus a thermal jersey in cold weather. You will be cold. We have some people that do that and they still end up struggling. We were a bit warm on this ride on the way back because we were wearing thermal base layer and the thermal jersey. I told Paul, I said, yeah, the weather kind of changed on us. Ideally, it would have been better off for us to just wear a normal base layer. So even though we're pushing here, look at my heart rate, 148. So but I feel I know I'm still working 2 out of 5. And this is why I talk about this power meter. Regardless of what zone your heart rate is in, you're still doing 200 watts, 300 watts, whatever your effort is. You're still doing this, the ranges of watts. What gets to you is whether you can tolerate the aerobic zone per se that you're in. Have you acclimated to spending that much time in zone 4, zone 5? That's what makes people stop. You know, or can you do 350 watts for 20 minutes? Or whatever your goal is that you're going for. If you're going to use these meters, they need to be more specific. Don't just have them on the bike looking at numbers. You need to have specific things you're targeting. Then it makes them more effective. And when you're done with the target work, ignore them and enjoy the rest of the ride. They're slowing down. I'm trying to navigate through them to just keep going. I don't like stopping around just on the road. I want to keep moving. So I don't know what they're doing here, what's going on, but I want to ride. Dan said it's good to be riding with you again. Says it's been a while. We hadn't seen him in a few weeks since we rode, I believe, that fast ride with the WCC guys on Fish Creek. We just had our wires crossed, you know, they're not doing the rides, we're not on all the time, and we were just couple of weeks we did our own thing. That's why I told them we've been riding, we just hadn't hooked up with the group that much last couple of weeks.
Marks off the back there.
Somebody says marks off the back. Yeah, well, we know that. I mean, we were Mark was with Randy back there, and Mark's not going to catch us while we're doing 35 kilometers an hour on this road, so they're not waiting for Mark. So yeah, Dan asked me how do we find this group, because we've been riding like 5 or 6 years. That's Jerry on the left there. We're going to chat. I hadn't seen him in a while. He's been out of town. Jerry is a very, very humble guy. Jerry travels to Pennsylvania frequently. His parents are there. They're up in age, and he's taking care of them. And so he commutes between Houston and Pennsylvania regularly to take care of the folks. We're talking about a bike that I restored for Jerry. From I think it was like from the 80s. It's like a 30-something-year-old bike. It has down tube shifters. It was a Trek 1400 that I restored for him, and he's telling me how much he liked it. He said that it slips in one gear when he stands, so that's what we're talking about. So I tell him that when he goes on the next ride, if he takes the bike with him, he needs to see if it's only slipping in one cog or whatever, to try to troubleshoot.
I go back in January.
He's having different challenges with the different frames, but having to travel to go take care of the folks in Pennsylvania, he hasn't had time to really get all his bikes taken care of. You know, he was going to bring this frame so I could take care of a missing. It needs a tune-up and some other stuff. It's got noises, but he just hasn't had the time. But I thought that's really cool that he's making sure his parents are cared for in their old age. And you know, he doesn't talk about it all the time. I always ask because once I found out about it, I thought that's admirable. Because you know, he's got a family here, he's got work, and to be able to spend that much time up there, you know, so he went up there, made sure they had a place where people would care for them, and then he goes there regularly. He's been gone for the last 10 days. That's what I'm finding out on his ride. So he didn't say, oh, I went to take care of the folks. He just said, oh, I've been out of town for 10 days. And I kind of knew. I said, you taking care of the folks, right? And he's like, yeah. So he doesn't like to talk about it too much, but I kind of suspected. So what we're talking about here is that he's going to bring, he's got 2 of these S5 frames that he's riding, and both of them got different issues going on. So he's going to bring them later when he gets a chance to look at it. That's what we're chatting about. It's getting to where all his frames need TLC, just because he's busy with everything else. The Trek 1400 his plan was to get it restored so his son could start using it, because his son wants to start riding. And he said, I didn't wait for him. I needed to ride a bike, and these other bikes were not quite there. So he was saying the shifting is really nice and everything. Yeah. We basically gave it a full overhaul, and I did paint work, so it looks new. So we're talking, and then as we, in about a kilometer or so, we're going to approach the base of the climb, and I'm going to tell him, you get closer to those guys because they're going to go harder than we're going. We're just going to ride the climb, because that's our plan. We're trying to stick to this plan at least for another week or so, and then by the end of November, then we can kind of increase our effort a bit, but not race pace per se. There's a climb in the distance. It gets up to like 9%. These guys always get excited. So even though we can stay with them, that's why I'm telling Paul, and I'm telling Dan also. So I told Dan, we're just gonna ride the climb. So Dan rides up to them. That's Dave going up there. I just stayed 2 out of 5. Regardless of what the watts are saying, I'm doing 2 out of 5. My effort here is very, very low. The watts are up because I'm standing, and I'm intentionally on the inside. That's the steepest grade. It's to get to around 9% when you're on the inside. Right there. And then it'll level off a little bit.
Jerry's out of town for 10 days.
I'm telling Paul that Jerry's been out of town.
Oh, for 10 days?
He just said I was out of town for 10 days. I kind of knew. I said, the folks, he said, yeah. And then I let it go. He doesn't like to talk about it, so I'm aware of that. Because the way he sees it is no big deal, but I think it's admirable. Because, you know, a lot of people are so busy with other stuff. Not everybody is able to or whatever or wants to. So that's admirable. Where I grew up, it was the norm. You take care of your folks when they're up in age. You kept them close. Most families stay either in the same building or nearby. So we're doing 2 out of 5. Regardless of what the heart rate says, whatever, effort is 2 out of 5. You can see 200 and some watts. You don't always have to climb in anger. Now, when we turn, you'll see, we'll still be able to see the group. Yeah, we could have ridden with them, but that's not the plan for the day. That's the idea. You have a plan, you stick with it. We could have sat in the group, gone a little harder, but no. We're trying to restrain ourselves, keep the effort low, build those capillaries, so that when we really start to push, that fast will mean something. Plus, it gives us a mental break from always pushing too hard. We get to enjoy these roads. Deep conditioning, that's what we're doing. The kind of rides that Koppy and all the other boys, Batali and all those guys would do. 6-7 hours in the saddle, then the next day they do calisthenics in the woods. From back in the day.
Yeah.
I love coming out here. Look at this. It doesn't matter what day of the week, what hour, this road is like this. You get a car now and then. So we basically just get into our Veloharmony mode. Paul and I are riding. Gonna ride for a while. I believe Paul would take the lead also. What we do is we ride, and we switch positions. Yeah, that's why he goes. To get his nose in the wind. We're going directly into the winds. I'm hands-free, and I think I'm probably changing the camera angle or something. It's not very breezy right now.
I don't know what Dave was talking about.
So yeah, at this point I can't see the wobble. We're going so fast to where I can't really tell the wobble. But I had noticed the wobble on one ride in the past. But he's not having problems shifting or anything. But you don't want to wait till that point. There is a problem with the bearings in the pawls of the hub. And when you have those kind of problems, if you don't address it, it can seize up on you. And then you end up being stranded on a ride. So it seems straight. I looked at it from the back, but I remember that I had seen it. I had not, at this point, I didn't know what Dave had said. When I came back and started editing, then I heard Dave's comment about the wobble. And I immediately texted Paul and said, Dave's right, because I've noticed that wobble. So if he saw it, the wobble is more noticeable at slower speeds. And so we've taken things apart. I'm going to address it because it needs to be addressed. That's your drivetrain. You can't mess with it. Without it, you ain't going nowhere. We can see the group. I don't know if the camera picks them up. I think it did earlier. I don't know if we can still see them around these hills and bends. They're not that far ahead, but you'll see them in about probably 5 or 6 kilometers. Because they get to the end, they're waiting, and we get there, and then we all roll. So I continue to look at his drivetrain because I heard Dave's comment, but I didn't understand distinctly what he had said. But I think Paul told me that Dave had said something was wrong. But I think I was within earshot. I heard some of Dave's comments, but I didn't get all the gist of it. So I'm watching it to see, and then I told him, well, everything kind of looks fine. It's shifting fine. Because right here, it looks straight. But we verified it, and yeah, it's wobbling all over the place. The whole cassette body moves when you grab it. So those are symptoms that you don't ignore. Because if you ignore it, it gets worse, and then it will stop working on a ride. So you jump right on it and get it fixed. That's what we're doing. You're going to ride the bike a lot, you got to keep it serviced. Because if you don't, it will cost you more in time and money. Because you get stranded, then that's your time wasted. You didn't get the ride. And then if you let it go to where it broke, it might break something else. It'd be more expensive to fix. So our goal is by January, we want to be doing a harder effort in this range, meaning we'll be covering more ground in our long rides. So by holding yourself back and allowing your body to build what it needs, you capitalize on it later.
See why I didn't want to waste my energy?
Yep.
So right there.
Yeah, we can see them. We can see them up the road. Because one thing about these guys, nobody wants to take the lead. Nobody wants to pull because they're worried about somebody coming around them on a climb or whatever. So yeah, the camera didn't pick them up, but we can see them. I don't concern myself with that on a group ride. If somebody wants to sit in and act like it's a road race, that's their problem. If I'm feeling good, I get to the front and I want to do as much work as possible. That's the whole point of going out. I want to get home feeling like, yeah, I really had a good workout. The road goes up here. I downshift. And because of the grade, you can see the watts going in a 200 zone. So anywhere from 150 to 250, I've found is
I'm going to tell you about what happened
Zone
with
2.
Keenan Cut-off.
Okay.
Off camera.
So when we're off camera or, you know, we're not filming that much, Paul and I will chat about different things that, you know, sensations, things that happen during the rides. So we learn from it and basically discuss, you know, in this situation, you know, why were you doing this? What was going on? That kind of stuff. That's what I was telling him to remind me. That's Jonathan that comes by. He'd been having problems with his feet. He was shaking his feet, both of them on the Hills Parkway approaching Keenan Cut-off. And I think he stopped to deal with that, I guess. But the thing is, on Sunday, he was doing the same thing, so I don't know. There are riders behind us that are not within view. We can't see them. Mark, Randy, I believe, and Scott. They're back there. So we're between the group up front and those riders in the back. We keep the effort in zone 2. We're probably about 15 to 20 seconds behind the group up there because they're not really that organized. There's a lot of lulls. There's a lot of ride, slow down, that kind of stuff. Happens a lot in a lot of groups. Whereas back here, we're just moving steadily. The watts are down because there's not a whole lot of wind, a little bit of breeze that you hear in the camera, but the road goes up and down. Once it goes down, then the watts drop. So the effort that it takes to maintain the speed goes down when the road's going down, or if it's relatively flat, you don't need that many watts. In a couple of kilometers, we'll reach the end of the road here. I don't concern myself too much with aerodynamics when I'm just riding with Paul and we're kind of rolling along. I sit in that position so he can get a good draft, and I want to work hard. That's the goal. So now if it gets to a ride where we're concerned about making time, then I will just lower my torso more. But right here, I want to make the effort hard. The guys are, I think when we crest that hill, we see them. And we end up just keep going because they're stopped, and the guys behind us are not within view. They're minutes behind. So I'm not waiting for anybody. I wasn't expecting them to wait for us. A lot of times those guys will stop because they're tired. They're not necessarily waiting for you. They need a break. Because a lot of them ride over their fitness ahead of, out of their range. So they need a break.
Yep. Yep.
It's a long climb here. I like to do these long climbs. Some of them just stand the whole time. You're working harder. It stresses your system more. This is where we see them. They're on the corner there. Because Jonathan has just joined them. We're going left.
Sorry.
I'll look for vehicle. There's a car back there. I'll let them know there's a car back. So that was Spring Branch Road that we just left, and we turned on this side road. We're in the Tri-Lakes subdivision. We're headed kind of a westerly direction. They're going to go north, and we're going to go south, then go northwest. Because we want to get more Ks in. So if you're on your ride and you let your group go, they don't really gain that much time on you. I mean, they'd have to keep the pressure on for miles and miles to gain any significant time. These guys maybe got 15, 20 seconds, if that, because they're yo-yoing, they were slowing down. We just kept it steady. The road goes up here. I guess to like 3 or 4%. I decided to just stand. Now, even though I'm doing 400 something watts, I'm still in zone 2. I can tell 2 out of 5. I just stand because it feels good. I don't have to shift. I'm using the same gear. It's a short enough climb to where I'm not exerting myself for a very long time. And you can watch my form. I'm comfortable. I'm not overreaching. The road has a lot of patinas, a lot of holes and stuff, so you gotta look for that. This is Tri-Lakes. This area has a lot of kilometers of quiet roads, some of them in better condition than others, because it's sparsely populated, large agricultural community, large lots. People have large estates here. So they have not spent a lot of money on the roads here because it's not a major thoroughfare. Let's see all the cracks. So this is where we go our separate ways. Now riders are going to come left and right. I'm going to be going left, but I look anywhere out of habit. You can see Dan's going to come there, and he's turning right. We were turning left. He didn't know that. I turned left and then Paul turned left. So whenever you're in the group, expect riders right, left, whatever. Look around before you change your line.
We are in the forest, in the Sam Houston National Forest. We're going north, and I think this is the hardest direction. We did this last week, and it was hard.
We had stopped for Paul to adjust his hat. He wanted to lift it over his ear, and he also needed to remove his gloves and whatever.
Much better.
That's what he said, he's feeling much better. And basically, he didn't have enough room in his pockets to put the gloves. So what he did is he folded them up and put them
to work this road up
in the crevice of his spine, behind his, like the back of his head, his neck, between his shoulder blade. That's where he put the gloves. We're going north on 140 now. We're in the Sam Houston National Forest. The forest is a huge area. There are other roads that go through the forest, like miles to the left of this. Bethel Road is another way to go through the forest. But this highway, I think in this direction, is very tough. There are a lot more ups and downs in this direction, and you're just working the whole time. This is the reason we like to come out here, so we don't have to think about pushing ourselves. We really have to make sure we restrain ourselves this time of the year and keep the effort tolerable. Riding these hours like we do, you will not be able to do it successfully if your bike is uncomfortable, because besides your hands getting numb, your feet might go to sleep. There's so many different symptoms you encounter from a bad fit. So it really all does begin with fit. It ended up warming up. It says 17 Celsius. It feels like 21. It feels like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21. It felt warmer. On this ride, for some reason, we got a lot of waves from the motorcyclists as they would go by. Basically a sign to keep going, keep on trucking, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of sign they were making. There were a lot of cyclists out, motorcyclists out as well. Look at the weather. The day has cleared up. The haziness is gone. You can ride for about probably 20 kilometers without having to stop on this road, going all the way to Richards. It's a nice way to come get a good workout. And so to just a day like this, to just ride the taco corner, nah, you do that during the week. That's too short. On Saturday, you want to get about 3 hours in the saddle, and depending on your goals, I guess. Anything's better than nothing. But if you aspire to do grand fondos and other stuff, you got to get time in. I told her to come up and enjoy the pain.
Share some of this pain.
You see how efficiently we pass. He comes by, hands me the camera, I get it, and he goes right by. We don't even have to stop. You have to have good bike handling skills and all of that to carry something in your hand and still have access to your shifters and your brakes, And that's what you get from coming on the road.
Up and down this entire time.
Yeah, this road is just, and it's a kind of up and down where you don't really see it visually, but you feel it. Like right here, it's about, let's see, it says 2%. It doesn't look like it changed from when it said -1 and -2, but you just feel it, so you have to watch your gearing. Look at 4%. The road didn't look like it changed. And this is how you ride those mountain passes. Other than the elevation changing, these kind of roads prepare you for that kind of sustained pressure or sustained effort, where the load is just on your legs, and you need to find the correct ratio and settle in for the long haul. So we're heading northwesterly. So the sun is a little behind us this time of day, just slightly. That's why the pink stripe looks washed out. You can't really see the beauty of the pink. But that's the reflective properties. Going up, I can just tell. You can see the little bump there, and look at that 4 or 5%. I mean, it's just, you're just working the entire time. When we get closer towards the end of this route, we end up taking a road called Forest Glen to kind of wrap up the ride. A nice little detour. It's quiet, you know, a little chewed up somewhat, but peaceful, and had 2 nice climbs on there too. When you're in this kind of terrain, the effort will vary. Like a little while ago, I was near the top of zone 2, now I'm in zone 1. The effort varies drastically. You go downhill. If you're fit, you know, it drops real quickly. That's the thing with being consistent. It gives you enhanced recovery. I think I got something to eat there. That's why the gap opened the paw. I probably reached in my jersey to get something, get a gel or something. When we're out this many hours, we're trying not to fall behind. I had brought banana bread on this ride, and I went through the thing in the first hour. It tasted so good. Once the banana gets overripe, it's not fun to eat the regular way, so I make banana bread out of it. I like the bananas because of the potassium content. This is slightly downhill here where it says -3, I guess. And look in the distance where it goes down and curves to the right.
I hear your cage rubbing.
Yeah, he had shifted in the combination. I think it was kind of the front derailleur was halfway because it was rubbing on the cage. He fixed it.
I said I heard your cage rubbing. Maybe that's what Dave was talking about.
It ended up not being the case. What Dave was talking about was legit. It's something I'd seen once or twice before, but you know, it wasn't significant enough to really warrant attention. But once we verified it and saw the level of play that was there, we decided let's go ahead and take care of it. told him cars back because I thought he was going to get on the road for some reason. Some move he made.
Let's turn right here.
So I told him, let's turn right.
Right turn.
Because he wanted to know what I had said. He didn't hear me very well.
I was saying cars back. I thought you were going to get out there.
This is a little jig we periodically use.
Cars back.
It's a little jig we use from the other direction when we go Bethel
So another
to
little
17.
road we discovered out here. I don't even know what the name is. We'll find it.
On the other side, it's called.
This is nice. Look at it.
Look at the trees. It's just quiet.
Well, in some combination of rubbish here and there, it sounded like it was touching the cave.
So this is like a shoehorn kind of road, and it adds about 5 kilometers to the route. And the exit street is Forest Glen. We usually come the opposite direction, but I ended up liking this direction. There's more climbing. So by using a proper gear ratio throughout your ride, it really saves your lower back from strain. There's a little dog barking. He was being held, and I call him Tiger. But what I'm saying is that it saves your lower back from strain. It saves your knees. You know, you don't need to overgear to get strong. You have to gradually build and strengthen all those little muscles. So try not to get too aggressive in your gear selection, because that doesn't make you a better rider if you can't maintain the gear you're in for any appreciable amount of time. You got to be very conservative in how you select your gearing. I remember they still may have it back in the day as a junior. You're not allowed to, I think, go beyond like 53.15 or something like that, or 52.15. The juniors were restricted just to protect themselves, because as you're still developing, they did not want you pushing monster gears. The same thing applies. You don't, to build a hill smashing quadriceps, you don't need monster gears. You have to build those muscles over time. You overdo it, you can injure yourself, and it sets you back. So this road has a lot of patina, as you can see. I'm ducking them. I'm just sliding, gliding, you know. And then we turn, and there are 2 nice little climbs. We usually come the opposite way, so it was kind of nice to experience it in this direction. Yeah, it's so bumpy. I give Paul credit for keeping his image fairly stable. So when I'm on this kind of road, all I do is I'm looking for my line. I'm reading the road, and I'm scanning ahead and see what else is going on. You gotta be scanning. I don't call it looking, I call it scanning, because my eyes are roaming. Don't look at anything too long. Any one thing too long. It starts to go up here, and we start to work it. So it's 3%. Try to climb a lot of these in a 62-inch gear. Try not to go over a 75-inch gear this time of the year. So, you know, like a 70-inch gear or lower for these rides. You see, this entire time, nothing has passed us, no cars, nothing. That's why we look for these roads. So when we go out here, every time we try to find another little jig or something, we don't like to just use all the main roads that all the cyclists use. We like to explore. And we do them in varying directions just for the variation of not doing the same thing and getting bored or tired of it. And on this day, we found out that it's a little more challenging in this direction because we ended up with 2 nice climbs in this direction. It's going up again. You can see the watts going up a little bit. You can see it continues to go up. And I think this is where we get to the main road. Want to work the climbs, don't labor. So I hope you got a chance to get your Ks in this weekend. This is part of what we did on Saturday.
Yeah.
This is where I saw the name on the road.
Forest Glen.
So no matter what, get your Ks in.